Hi guys, how are you doing? This is Sebastian from TechCentry, and today I have a special video for you guys. Usually here on YouTube we see videos about smartphones that cost $300, $400, maybe even $1,000, or with the Galaxy S21 Ultra I think like $1,200 or $1,300. And I really wondered, how much smartphone do we actually need? And this is where this phone comes in. This is the Poco M3. And this was sold here in Germany from the official Xiaomi shop for 79 euros. Now, I honestly don't know much about the technical specifications of this phone other than that it has a 6000 mAh battery. But today is the start of a 2-week kind of like self-experiment where I'll replace my Galaxy S10 with the Poco M3 and I'll take you along for the ride. So let's start with the unboxing.
Expected, feeling so connected. It must have been our destiny, and now I know I'll never let this ever end in somewhere other than next to me, 'cause time stood still right there. Time stood still right there. We rode the sun, we became one.
So now we're back after the unboxing, and I have to say, especially for the price, I'm super impressed. I mean, you get a decent like transparent case inside of the box that also has like here a cover for the USB-C port. And I mean, I'm happy that it has a USB-C port in the first place to begin with. So still, I think it's super nice to have that in the box. We have the charger, we have the USB cable, no headphones, but I guess that's not really a problem because most of us are likely using Bluetooth headsets anyways. And I just have to say that I just love not only the design and the color here, this yellow of the phone, but also just this texture here on the back. It's kind of like a fake leather, grippy texture. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, what was it, like the Galaxy S4 or S5, where they had like the fake leather back. I really like that, and this is basically what we have right here. It's super grippy. I think it looks nice, it feels nice, it doesn't slip out of your hand, so I think it's like the perfect finish. And to be honest, I wouldn't even mind to see such a finish on higher end devices as well, because I don't know, I'm getting sick and tired of this just glass back on like every phone that's super prone to just like shatter into pieces. So I think that's a great solution. And of course, wireless charging with plastic is also possible. We don't have it here on the phone, but I think it's still great. And I also kind of like this huge visor here up top. It kind of reminds me of the Nexus 6P, which I absolutely loved. So again, first impressions of this phone are incredible. Even if it would be like twice or 3 times the price, I wouldn't be let down, and I think it just feels good. And one thing that I really love about this phone is that since it's so cheap, I don't really feel the need of using the case. And this is something that I really don't like about most phones. Manufacturers spend so much time in terms of design, manufacturing, and the feel in the hand, but then you put it in like a $1 case that kind of ruins the entire experience, but you're so afraid of dropping it and damaging it that you're still using this $1 case. So this is not happening here. I'm using this phone without a case, and I think for the first impressions it's just absolutely incredible, and I'm super impressed. So now we're back, and of course I was very excited to take the Poco phone outside to try and take some pictures. Now we do have what they call a super triple camera here on the back, but there's basically just one really useful main sensor with 48 megapixels. And to be honest, I have to say, first impressions are very good. So we went to the dog park with our dog Samu, where there was still a little bit of snow left over, which he absolutely loved. And just first impressions, the picture look pretty nice. We also have some slow motion video right here. Of course, the resolution is lower, but what I like about it is that it's very smooth. And this is actually an issue that I had on my Galaxy S10. Somehow the slow motion footage is always very stuttery, which sucks. It's not the case here on the Poco M3. Moving on to other video, this is just regular 1080p video at 30 frames per second, which is like the maximum resolution. And you can already see it's very shaky because we don't have any optical image stabilization. But Sam was having a lot of fun, and of course that's the most important aspect. So for videos, I don't think it's like the best solution, especially if you're moving around and if you're running around or walking around even. But for photos, I think the performance is quite good. So for example, here we have an HDR image, also with the sun here, and some minor highlights, like for example the snow here on the ground. And overall, the dynamic range is pretty good thanks to HDR, and I was definitely impressed. Here we then have some more pictures of Sam, and I have to say, one thing that this camera so far does very well is just like the color reproduction. Samus fur is like super difficult for a lot of cameras. On some cameras, it can't really show like the separate hairs. It's just like one giant surface that looks like all muddy. This isn't the case here. And on top of that, also just the colors itself are very good. So he isn't like completely white, but he isn't yellow either. So here we actually have this really nice contrast between like the wider lower part of his body and then, for example, also the more yellow hair here on the ears. So overall, I think the color reproduction is very nice, and also in terms of details, this camera usually spits out 12 megapixel pictures thanks to pixel binning. I have to say I'm very impressed. I mean, I'm sitting here in front of a 5K iMac, so of course you can really tell the differences here, but even when I crop in, I wouldn't say that this photo is unsharp or anything. I would even use this crop of the image, and overall I'm very happy with it. So we have a ton of more pictures here, as you can see, and yeah, Sam was just being cute as usual. And overall, again, I think especially for daylight pictures, here also some macro shots, I think this camera is quite good. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is, again, for video it might not be as good as for photos. So time is flying by too fast, and I almost forgot to record this update. So now exactly 7 days have passed since I switched full time from my Galaxy S10 to the Poco M3. And I still have to say I absolutely love this phone, especially for the price. I think it's a fantastic deal. But there are a few things that I wanted to point out. First off, if you really care about data privacy, Xiaomi smartphones in general might not be the best solution for you, because there are some aspects in their privacy policy that aren't that great. So if you really value your privacy, maybe an iPhone would be the better solution for you. But now let's talk about the phone. And first off, I have to say the fingerprint reader is incredibly fast and reliable. I only have basically my right thumb that I have registered here, and it unlocks all the time. I mean, I think like every 24 or 48 hours you have to put in your PIN just to make sure that you don't forget it. But other than that, it always works on the first try with my fingerprint, which is awesome to see. And it's definitely more reliable than the in-screen fingerprint reader that we find on my Galaxy S10. On top of that, also battery life. It's just awesome. I can't tell you how tired I am of the battery life of my Galaxy S10. It was never great to begin with, but it just got worse and worse, and basically I now have to charge it at noon, and I can never make it through a full day just on a single charge. And here we of course have a lower powered processor overall, a low resolution display, and just a huge battery with 6000 milliamp hours. So I have one screenshot right here in front of me that you can see where I have 4 hours and 50 minutes of screen on time, and I then still had like 56% of battery left, and that was like, what was it? I think, yeah, close to midnight. So I think I took it off the charger at like 7 in the morning, and battery life has been amazing. And I think I could probably even get 2 full days out of it, which is unheard of for me. I don't know why, but always battery life sucked on no matter what device I had, even on like a Note 10 Plus, where everybody was saying, oh, it has great battery life. Not in my case. So this is the first phone where I could really say, awesome battery life, this is amazing. I could probably go 2 days with it, which is just great to see. It's just so comforting as well that you don't have to worry about it. I absolutely love that. Other than that, performance. Now, of course, the processor here in this phone isn't the fastest. But I basically only had one real worry, and that is that I can't play World of Warships, which I've played a lot recently, and fortunately it's not really an issue. Now of course I have to turn down the graphics setting from like maximum to the minimum settings, but to be honest I don't see a huge difference in just like graphical details in the game, and it runs pretty well. Yeah, there are stutters from time to time, but if I lose a game it's not because it's too stuttery on the phone, but basically because I'm not good enough in this game. So if you're fine with dialing down the settings a little bit, I think you'll be really happy as well. Now, in terms of performance, again, overall I was pretty happy. Now, I did notice like big slowdowns, basically mainly when going out of memory intensive apps, like for example the camera or also World of Warships, back to the home screen with the Poco launcher. Then it took sometimes like 5 to 6 seconds until all the icons reloaded or redrawn on the home screen, and that was really annoying. Now I did find a fix for that solved most of these issues, and that was by installing a different launcher like Launcher. Never heard of it before, found it somewhere on the internet, that was a recommendation, and this really fixed a lot of the issues. So in terms of performance, a good solution for that. It's still not the fastest phone, but for the price I think it's more than good enough. Last but not least, I also teased that I was trying out Google Camera, and I did find a version that worked pretty well. I think it's like 8.4. I'll leave the link down below. And with this, the camera improves a lot. So now it's time for my final update when it comes to the Poco M3, and I originally had planned to test this device for 2 weeks, but now I'm using it straight for 3 weeks as my main phone, and I haven't really touched my Galaxy S10 since, and I have to say I'm still super impressed. I never thought that a phone for less than 100 euros or dollars could be this good. Now, as I mentioned in the last part, I wanted to talk about the Gcam experience, and I downloaded a Gcam Mod version 8.1 to this device, and this is really a game changer. So for everyone who's thinking about purchasing the device, I would definitely recommend to pick up Gcam as well. Because here in the stock camera app there is no night mode, so at night you're completely out of luck. You can't really take any pictures with this device, especially because it also lacks optical image stabilization, but with the Gcam Mod it's completely different. While the Gcam Mod isn't perfect, so for example the portrait mode didn't work for me at all, the night mode works and it's awesome. Now I use this to capture some light trails, and actually some of my very favorite pictures of all time were captured here on this phone. So this shows that you don't always have to carry expensive equipment, and I never thought that just an app by itself could make such a huge difference. So let me know what you think of these pictures. I'm really proud of them. I think I captured them at like midnight at freezing temperatures, but it was definitely worth it. And they're also unedited as well, so they're straight out of the camera with the Gcam app, and again I'm super impressed. But now it's time for my verdict, and during these past 3 weeks I did notice also some negative things. First off, somehow in my car when I connect the phone via Bluetooth, when I make a call I'm always muted. No matter if I make a call or if I receive a call, I'm always muted by default, which sucks. I found a workaround where I mute myself and then unmute myself again. Then it is possible to talk, and then the person I talk to actually hears me, but it still sucks. I'm not sure if this is an issue of the Poco phone, if this is an issue of my car or of my phone provider, I don't know. So just keep this in mind. Also, HDR in the stock camera app somehow always deactivates itself. Even though I chose that it's always supposed to be on, I always have to re-enable it after a few days, which really sucks because sometimes I just forget it, so I wish that wasn't the case. And the surface that I really praised at the beginning of the experiment isn't as grippy as I thought it would be. It's weird. At the beginning it was like super grippy, but now with daily usage, and especially if your hands are a little bit dry, it's not as grippy as I thought, so I wouldn't guarantee that it's not slipping out of my hand. Fortunately, this hasn't happened yet, but maybe a case if you want to be really protective and just really careful isn't a bad choice after all. Last but not least, there's also no NFC built into this phone, so this sucks, especially if you want to use Google Pay, so you can't just go to a cashier and say, well, okay, here, I pay, and you're done. Unfortunately, this isn't possible here due to the lack of NFC, and if you want to have that, you have to upgrade to the next higher Poco phone, the Poco X3. In addition to that, I also have to mention the display brightness. While I think it's still fantastic and the display itself is fantastic for the price, it just doesn't get like super bright outside. It can be expected at this price point, I completely understand that, but if you're using the phone a lot outside, especially at sunny days like today, this might be a challenge and you might think about spending more for a phone with a brighter display. And now it's already time for the positive stuff. First off, battery life, absolutely incredible. Still, I think I never managed to get less than like 50 or 60% at night, so for me this just so awesome, especially coming from the Galaxy S10. I can't tell you how happy I am about it. Next up, also picture-in-picture with YouTube Premium is possible, so you can, for example, scroll through Phoenix like a Twitter app and also watch a video at the same time. No issues there. With the stock Poco launcher, the performance is dropping significantly though, and they actually really stutters in the video, so I would definitely recommend everybody who gets this phone gets launcher or a different launcher that is just better performing than the stock launcher, because the stock launcher just really isn't that great. Also, YouTube in general works great, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go to my channel, hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell button so that you don't miss future uploads. Last but not least, I can only say again, I have my Galaxy S10 inside, but in the last 3 weeks I only used my Poco phone and barely touched my Galaxy S10, and this is probably the highest praise that I can give here to this Poco M3. I never ever thought that this phone could be as good as it is. I always thought that I'm like a high-end phone user. I have to have like the latest iPhone. I have to have like the Galaxy S21 Ultra. But no, actually I was very satisfied here with the Poco M3, with the stereo speakers, with the amazing battery life. And I'm just not sure if I need more. So this video, this experience overall was just absolutely amazing. I hope that you guys enjoyed this different kind of video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching.